Hello and welcome to Fresh Perspectives. My name is Gail, and my guests today are a couple of ladies who've been on my program a couple of other times before. And for the second time today, they're going to be doing a food demonstration. Say hello to Mary Zdrojewski and her mom, Joanne Zdrojewski. They're two of my vegan buddies.
Yes.
From the Chautauqua County Vegetarian Vegan Society, and they are here today to talk about grains. Okay, what were you going to do first then? Show the different, or start
Why
the...
don't you show them your T-shirt first,
Oh,
Mary?
all right,
'Cause
so,
we first did this in near
stand up a little.
Halloween.
Yes.
So that was our
What do
theme.
vegetarian zombies eat? Grains.
Yeah, they did a program on grains at our October Vegetarian Society dinner, and they even had the yellow crime tape.
Yeah.
What was it that it said on the tape again?
Zombie crossing, maybe? Zombie warning.
Zombie warning. So anyways.
So do you want to start the...
Yeah.
cooker?
Oh, you're going to start the rice cooker, right?
Sure.
Is it rice that you're cooking?
We're going to cook millet,
Oh, millet.
which is a
okay.
nice alternative to rice. It's it's light and it's fluffy. It cooks easily. It's very inexpensive. You can get it in bulk at the store at Wegmans for I think it's like $2 a pound. It's very inexpensive. So, and we brought the rice cooker because we wanted to show everyone how easy it was to cook grains.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much any grain you can cook in a rice cooker, and this was a very inexpensive one. I think it was only like $15.
Yeah.
Now,
So-
if you were cooking millet on top of a stove, stovetop cooking, would you have to soak the millet?
I don't
Overnight?
soak. Sometimes you soak buckwheat, but I don't usually soak the grains overnight. Nope.
Oh, okay. And they usually cook
Yeah.
cook nice and tender, do they? Okay.
So this is a smaller rice cooker, and usually I would cook 2 cups of grain, and it would pretty much fill it. But today, so it cooks a little faster, we're going to cook just 1 cup. So there's a cup of millet, and you just pour it in the rice cooker, and then you add some water.
Is it 2
and-
cups of water to 1 cup of millet?
Yes, it's 2 to
Okay.
1 for pretty much most of the grains. You want to look at the
Okay.
package when you buy the grain, but I think pretty much every grain we cooked has been that same
Pretty much
same
the
ratio.
same set
Yeah.
of
So we had
instructions.
1 cup of grain, so I have 2 cups of water. You just pour it in. Sometimes we might put a little drop of oil. They say it doesn't bubble up as much, but I don't think it really makes that much difference.
Not really.
Well, you're using the half size amount anyway.
Now this
so-
is the important part, is to push the button down to cook.
Yes.
Oh, do you forget to do that sometimes?
Well,
We don't, but sometimes we ask somebody else at home to start the millet cooking for us.
Yeah, we get it all set up, and so you just have to plug in the rice cooker and turn it on. So
and then they forget.
yeah, just plug it in. We come home and there's a pot of cold water. So that should take, I'd say usually for 2 cups it takes about 45 minutes. Would you say? But for 2 cups it should take a lot less. So as we talk, we should be able to see it. Red light on there. Yeah, we should be able to see it start to steam up and do its thing. And we know it's done. It'll switch back to warm, and you can keep it on warm until you're ready to eat it.
Oh, okay.
So it's as easy as that. I mean, it's not difficult at all to cook grains.
Oh, good. All right, and then the next thing on the agenda is the various different grains.
So we'll show you some different grains, and Mary will mostly talk about them
Oh, okay.
because she knows
Got
a
a
lot
cheat
about
sheet.
them. The first one I'm going to show you is wheat germ.
Wheat bran. That's wheat bran.
Yeah, wheat bran. Okay. So wheat is, I'd say, the most common grain. And actually, these first ones we're going to show you are grains that have gluten in them. So if you're on a gluten-free diet, these first batch of grains we show you are ones that you'll need to avoid. And because Mary is on a gluten-free diet, we can't eat these in our home. But they're, if you are not sensitive to gluten, or you're not allergic to gluten or wheat, these grains are very good for you. So we eat them sometimes when Mary's not around because
Just
they
to
are
make
good
me
for you.
jealous.
Well, we try not to tell you. We don't want to rub it in. But that's our first grain is wheat. Anything you want to tell them about wheat?
That's wheat bran. We don't usually eat wheat bran. People in the 80s, I think it was a big thing to get the wheat germ and wheat bran, but it's always better to eat the whole grain together, and not just the gran part. And if you do get wheat bran or wheat germ, make sure you're getting organic, because as the outer part of the grain, that's where any of the pesticides would be concentrated.
Yeah. When I was growing up, my grandmother put wheat germ in just about everything. Meatloaf, things like that.
Your
cookies.
grandmother, did you
Yes,
say?
yes. And she was on the right track because the flavor was a really good thing for us.
Right.
But now with so many pesticides in the soil and in use, it's really pretty dangerous to eat wheat bran. So you would actually avoid the bran or wheat germ.
That's organic anyway.
Yeah.
But we're not going to eat it. But
Yeah.
it's here.
The next one we'll show you is barley. Barley is very common. There we go.
Barley goes really good in soups.
Yeah, it's very good to throw into soups. Easy to cook that way. I've seen some great recipes where they actually bake it in a casserole with some vegetable broth.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So barley is very popular, but barley is a grain with gluten, and those who are on gluten-free diets shouldn't have it. And it's funny because at our local store we've been trying to buy miso. They stopped carrying, but they carry a barley miso.
Oh.
And it's in the gluten-free cooler, and we keep saying this is not gluten-free. It shouldn't be in the gluten-free cooler, and they say, well, it's barley. It's like, barley has gluten,
So it's
so
still in
eventually
there.
we'll get it moved. We're crusading.
Is this
Yeah.
at Wegmans?
It's
We should say
shouldn't
where
the
because
name
we
of the
really
store,
like
but
we really
A
love
store.
Wegmans.
It's a
and we're
store that we
appreciative of
love.
Wegmans. Yeah,
Yeah.
a store we love. Yeah, you worried that someone is going to buy it thinking it's gluten free and it's not. So.
And then they might get sick. Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to watch, and if you are on a gluten-free diet, you want to know which grains have gluten in them, which don't. Okay, so that's barley. Spelt. You want to talk about spelt? I don't have spelt here.
Spelt is just another form of wheat. It's an older form of wheat, and it is lower gluten. So some people who just avoid gluten just to not eat as much enjoy spelt. But if you have a gluten intolerance, it's one you still need to avoid.
Okay, now we've got bulgur. Bulgur is wheat, and it's kind of a processed wheat, so it's like almost little chips or flakes of wheat, and that's very popular for things like
Tabbouleh salad.
tabbouleh. Yes, yeah. If you like tabbouleh, and what do you make tabbouleh, Gail?
Once in a while I do, yes.
And pretty much tabbouleh is like lemon juice and mint, and it's a very good light salad. If you
Yeah,
like.
you just have to soak it in a certain amount of water for part of a day, and it absorbs all the water, and then you just add the vegetables and the lemon juice and like that, and some herbs.
Yeah, it's a nice summer salad.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
It really
you don't want to
is.
spend a lot of time cooking in the kitchen. And,
Right.
I was going to say that there are people who use bulgur as like a meat replacement. They'll like mix it with soy sauce and spices and things, and then they use that as like ground beef on their tacos and things like that.
Yeah, we use textured vegetable protein to do that with.
Yeah, and if you look at it, it looks very similar to the.
Yeah, when it's
Yeah, you
reconstituted.
probably could use either one.
Yeah. So, and then I've got two more here. These I think are more what they refer to as ancient grains, and this is farro.
And that has gluten in it, does it?
Yes, that has gluten in it. And these you have to cook a little longer, but the rice cooker seems to figure it out. It's a smart little machine. I don't know how it does it. But it's farro, and this is frica, which looks similar. It's a little more robust tasting, they say. It's another, they're varieties of wheat, farro and frica, and they're referred to as ancient grains. And these wheat grains are all very, very high in protein.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of
yeah.
people use them as a
Yeah,
protein
a
substitute.
lot of people constantly ask, how how do you get your protein? You know, on a plant-based diet. You know,
yeah.
people
are
just
curious.
find it really hard to believe that you can get protein from grains and beans and just about everything.
Vegetables, yeah.
Yeah.
Mushrooms, potatoes, they all have a certain amount of protein. Yeah. And with a ratio of calories to the amount of protein, I think you're almost getting more when you eat a vegetable because
Oh,
the
yeah,
meats are so high calorie.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's it for our
The
grains with gluten.
with gluten.
Yeah,
Okay.
like wheat, the varieties of wheat, spelt, barley,
Rye.
rye. We'll
Waiting
talk
for
about
rye.
oats later because oats are kind of iffy. We'll get to oats.
Yeah.
Rye,
Right,
yes,
right.
rye is another one too that is, yeah, you can't have if you're gluten free. We don't have a sample of rye here today, but we miss cooking with rye. But Mary's very good. She makes uses some other grains to make like a rye bread. So she'll
And does
tell you
it
about it
taste
when we
sort
get
of
to
like
that.
rye bread?
Well, I put caraway seeds in it, so then it
That
tastes like
helps.
rye.
Yeah, it, like reminds you of rye.
Yeah, molasses and caraway seeds. It's close to rye taste. It's not the same, but it's close. It's close, and I don't have an allergic reaction, so it's a plus. All right.
Good.
So moving into the gluten-free grains, top of the list is rice. And today, to show you rice, I've got some brown basmati rice.
That's our favorite.
Yes.
And it smells, basmati rice smells so good while it's cooking.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It smells, you think that someone's maybe popped popcorn in your house or something. It smells buttery.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want your house to smell good. To cook some basmati rice.
Right.
And that's a brown basmati. So with rice, you want to be careful. First of all, you want to get rice that still has the bran on it and all parts of it. You want an intact rice, not like white rice. You know, it's like buffed or something to take the brown off of it.
Right, right.
And that can do nasty things for your blood sugar if you're a diabetic.
Oh, yeah,
If you're a
definitely.
diabetic, you don't want to eat any white rice at all, but you go for a brown. And then within the brown rice, there are things like basmati. There's a brown jasmine, which also smells and tastes very good. That's more delicate. Then there are things like forbidden rice, and there are purple rices and red rices. Some of the stores have blends of the different kinds of rice. It's a good way to try them out. Okay, you want to tell them about what you want to be careful about with rice?
Yeah, so we try to limit rice and only eat it maybe once a month because the way it's grown, it soaks up chemicals from the soil, and it soaks up all the arsenic from the old pesticides. So even from decades past, even if a field has been clean for 50, 60, 70 years, there's still arsenic in the soil and it gets concentrated in the rice. So it's a good idea for everyone to limit rice to say a cup a month is the recommendation.
You know, years ago, I heard something about the seeds of apples having arsenic in them.
That's, I think, naturally.
Naturally occurring. But you wouldn't eat as many apple seeds as you'd eat grains of rice.
And most people don't eat any
Right.
apple
Yeah.
seeds. So
Accidentally, just
Yeah.
accidentally.
So if you can get rice from other countries, like our basmati rice is from, I think, India, our jasmine rice is from Thailand, those tend to be a little lower in arsenic because they're not as close to American chicken farms with the arsenic
Oh,
and
I
the chicken
see.
farm runoff.
I see.
yeah, they treat the chickens with arsenic to prevent disease, and then the runoff, gets into the fields and into your rice.
So rice from the American South is where you really want to be careful. and limit
Okay.
that.
Okay.
All right, next one.
Oh,
Oh, it's a popular one.
okay. Quinoa.
So anyway, those of you in the viewing audience might want to think about that when you're buying chicken to eat, that you probably will be eating arsenic.
Yeah. So there's the quinoa. And quinoa is, they're little kind of flat, round-shaped seeds. It's not, it's called a grain, but it's a seed, and it's grown in South America, in the
Although
mountains.
There's American ones too now.
Are there American ones now? It comes in different colors. We were just talking about that black
Oh,
and
here,
red.
this is a tricolor mix.
Oh, here you can-
This is cooked quinoa.
Okay. There's some cooked quinoa. That's black and red and white quinoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's a mixture.
When it's,
of
you know, when
quinoas.
it's done, because it has these cute little delicate circles, light-colored circles. It's very pretty. And it's a good one to use for,
With stir fries as a substitute for rice.
Yeah.
In soups.
pilafs.
Pilafs.
That is really bubbling away there. that
Yeah, look at it
cooker.
go.
The steam is bubbling up.
Yeah, it just kind of does its own thing.
It's magic. I love it. I own 3 rice cookers, and one lives in my kitchen, and one lives in my car, and one lives in my suitcase because you can take it as a carry-on. So
Oh.
whenever I travel, I can bring bags of grains and seasonings and make a nice healthy meal in a hotel room anywhere.
Good.
So this quinoa is dehydrated.
Uh-huh.
Mary, when you cook and you have extra, you can put it in the rice or the grains, whatever grains you have, in bags in the freezer for a quick meal. Or because Mary travels a lot, she dehydrates it in a dehydrator and brings just a baggie of dry rice, and you have it any time. You just have to put hot water on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very handy. We have next buckwheat.
Buckwheat.
Buckwheat is another pseudo grain. It's
Yeah.
not technically a grain.
Yeah, and buckwheat has like a signature shape to it. I don't know what you call these. They're like
Yeah,
it's like
it rem-
3-sided. It's like a little pyramid almost.
It reminds me of like an origami balloon.
Yeah,
with like a
know-
balloon but with straight sides.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you
very
know,
pretty.
actually, I really love it. I really love it to make muffins and pancakes. And another recipe I like to use it for is making brownies.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
like
it
that
makes really
recipe.
yummy brownies.
Yeah, I like that recipe.
Yeah. Joanne mentioned the rye bread I make, and to do that I soak buckwheat overnight, and then when it's soft I mix it in a food processor, and I add in a few ingredients and the caraway seeds, and that's my bread.
Yeah, buckwheat bread. It's very good.
Yeah, I guess you can sprout grains, whole grains on your kitchen counter too, just like with, like alfalfa sprouts and all those different kinds of sprouts. You can.
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't know if I've ever sprouted a grain. I
Y-
should try.
they
Right
call-
now I have lentils sprouting. Lentils are really
I
easy
just
to
finished
sprout.
sprouting a batch of lentils.
Yeah, they're fun to sprout.
Honestly,
They go
growing
fast.
them on your kitchen counter, you can turn a 1/4 cup of lentils into 2 quarts of
Of greens, yeah.
greens
yeah.
in just a few days. Yeah,
Lentils very fast.
yeah. They call them. This one book I've got, that tells about sprouting, making sprouted foods. It calls them buckwheat groats.
Yes.
And when it gets sprouted, they call them buckwheat lettuce.
Huh.
I heard what this one book said.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've heard groats used for a lot of these grains when they're in their whole form, like oats and buckwheat groats.
Oh, yeah.
It helps when you're buying the buckwheat because it's hard. There's a lot of buckwheat flour to buy, but it's hard to find whole buckwheat. So you look for the
Oh.
word groats on the package.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, and that cooks up well in the microwave, in the rice cooker, buckwheat. Although it is a little dense in the rice cooker, so I like to do like half buckwheat and half millet, because the
Oh,
millet
yeah.
is lighter. It seems to lighten up the buckwheat. It's like buckwheat, cooked buckwheat is my husband's favorite.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I don't know why that
A lot
is.
of
It has a
men-
nice
lot of
old
men
world
like
taste to
buckwheat,
it. Yeah.
yeah.
It's hearty. Yeah, so buckwheat's a really good grain to start with if you're looking for a gluten-free grain that you can easily cook in the rice cooker.
All right.
Next
Oh, now
we
on to your
have-
favorite.
Oh, yeah. You think this is my favorite? I don't know. This is millet, and you will recognize millet, pretty little round yellow seeds there, as something you find in your birdseed. Birdseed, hamster treats and things like that, those little yellow seeds. Somebody will say, I think a cashier asked once at the store, she saw my bag of millet, and she said, "Is that birdseed?" I think you were there, and you said, "Yes, it is."
Yes, it is. We enjoy it.
We do.
Yes.
Yeah, that was when we stopped eating as much rice. Millet was our go-to grain to cook at first because cooks up fast and easy. It's light, it's fluffy like rice is. We enjoy millet. It's got a mild flavor. You can put anything on it. Anything else you want to say about millet?
No, yeah, it's really versatile. You know, it goes well with anything. I do it a lot with stir fries.
Oh, yeah. I've had millet pudding.
Oh,
With the leftover millet, oftentimes we'll put it in a salad, not loose, but Mary and I have been making salads together for the week. Like on a Sunday, we'll make like 8 or 10 salads together, and I get half and she gets half, and we have our lunches for the week. But if you have leftover millet, you put a spoonful of millet like in the center of your salad, it makes your lunch that much heartier and fuller. You get the protein, you feel like you've had a really good lunch. It's very good with different dressings on it. This one is amaranth. And amaranth is like millet, but it's super, super tiny. Tiny little seeds.
yeah. We don't cook it whole too much. It makes like a porridge consistency. But we use the flour a lot. We love the flour for baking. It's a nice, light, high-protein baking flour.
Yeah, if you're looking to make a gluten-free baking blend, you want to definitely include amaranth flour, millet flour, garbanzo bean flour. It's very good in it. We used to use brown rice flour, and there was a taste to the flour that we just didn't like.
Really?
You know, it's like, oh, it tastes gluten-free. We'd say, oh, it tastes like gluten-free. And it was okay, but just wasn't fond of it. And then I cut out the brown rice because Mary says we shouldn't be eating so much rice because of the arsenic. And we started using like amaranth in its place. And it was like, I love this now. I love the gluten-free blend. So you may want to try that if you're not fond of the gluten-free flours. Make your own blend and leave the brown rice out and add amaranth and millet flours in.
11.
11. Oh, that's sorghum. All right.
Oh, sorghum.
Yeah. Another little round seed. There we go. Sorghum, it's escaping.
Sorghum is hard to find whole. It's one
Yeah.
that sometimes you have to special order.
Yeah, you can buy this flour to put in your gluten-free blends easily, sorghum flour, but the whole seeds are harder to find.
It's a very light, like white flour, right?
Yeah, I've never cooked it in the rice cooker, have you?
Never cooked in the rice cooker because it's too hard to get.
But we do use it. We buy it puffed. Yeah.
So sorghum is closely related to corn, and if you ever watch an old Western movie and they talk about cow corn, so that's what they mean is sorghum, cow corn. So you can buy it to pop. You know, you buy the whole ones and pop them on a stove like you'd pop popcorn in the old days, or we can buy it pre-popped. So we buy it at the Indian grocery because it's really cheap.
So we go through Buffalo, we know where the Indian groceries are, we stop, we know where it is right on the shelf. We go in and get a couple bags of popped sorghum. It's like $2 a bag. And
So
with that,
absolutely nobody in Chautauqua County sells it then.
I haven't seen it anywhere.
Seen it? It's hard to find.
but
You
if
can
you-
buy it online too.
It looks like little tiny popped popcorn, like little miniature popcorn. Have you tasted that? It comes lightly salted.
Oh, it already is like that
Yeah.
in the package?
Yeah. So it's good just to snack on.
So we try not to eat a lot of salt, but it's already got the salt on it, so that's our little splurge.
So it's too hard to puff on your own then?
You
People
can. A lot of my
do it.
friends do it. It's hard to, there's like 1 or 2 brands of air poppers that will work, but mostly the air poppers don't work for it.
Oh,
So you have to
okay.
pop it like a tablespoon at a time on the stovetop.
Oh.
And I'm
I
too
see.
lazy for that, especially when it's so hard to get it whole and so cheap to get it pre-popped.
Yeah. So when we drive through Buffalo or wherever, we'll buy 4 or 5 bags of it because it's sealed. It stays fresh for months. It takes us that long to go through it. But our favorite thing to do with it is to make
A naughty treat.
a naughty treat. Yes, we call that fiddle faddle because we can't call it. We were calling it caramel corn, but there's no corn in it, and because she's allergic to corn, there are no corn products in our house. So usually a caramel corn would have like popcorn, and it would have butter, which we don't eat. It would have corn syrup, which we definitely wouldn't eat. So this fiddle faddle is a super simple recipe. You take a half cup of maple syrup, and you bring it to a boil in a pan, and you boil it for 2.5 minutes. Then you add 3 tablespoons of peanut butter. When you mix it in, you toss it with 6 cups of sorghum and a cup of peanuts. Then you bake it in the oven for 6 minutes, and voila, you get this nice crunchy. Do you want to try that?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
definitely
I know this was very popular when you did a program on grains for the Vegetarian Society.
Yeah.
It's a really nice holiday treat.
Yeah, it was when Mary found out she couldn't have corn. It eliminates, I would say, like 98 to 99% of all processed foods have corn in some way.
Oh,
Citric acid, vinegar, corn syrup, natural flavors, all those things come from corn. So we didn't have many treats. So the holidays would come, and we're like, what are we going to celebrate with? So I don't know how I came across the recipe, but the first time I made it, we were so cautious. We ate like one little kernel at a time. And we had a little tiny bowl full, and then it was like heaven. It was so good. And we had been so long since we had like candies that we treasured it. And now we
Eat it by
found
the
out we can
handful.
eat it so easily. We just keep making it and making it. We take it on car rides. But that's a really fun way to get your grains.
Not
Yes,
a
it
super
is.
healthy way, but
Yes,
a fun
yes.
way. Not super unhealthy either, you know.
Yeah, and why it's not healthy, all the ingredients are good for you, but the thing that's not healthy, you want to talk to them about the ladder of maybe a good time to talk about that?
Oh, well, it's not healthy because there's tons of maple syrup in it too.
Oh, yeah, maple syrup. But there's different kinds, the way grains are processed make them more or less healthy for you. So at the top would be an intact grain. You could talk more. I'm doing all the talking today.
So intact grains would be like the millet that we're going to eat. It's
the millet's intact.
It's the whole millet, and we're
buckwheat is
eating all of it.
intact.
What are those other 3 that are in
Yeah.
front
Oh,
of
yeah, you want to
there?
finish those and then we'll
Yeah.
go through the grain?
Sorghum,
So now we're on
oats.
number-
Oats.
We know oats. Most people know oats. Oats, you want to be careful if you are on a gluten-free diet that you get the gluten-free oats. And it has to do with the way the
Yeah,
oats
so
are
we brought
processed.
Some of mine, some gluten-free.
Yeah.
oats there.
Yeah, we've also
Yeah.
found a gluten-free oat. The Trader Joe's oats are gluten-free too. But usually we get these online, and now we both subscribe to them on Amazon. Every month or 2 we get a box of it comes
Okay.
right to us.
Do you want to tell them why the ones that are not labeled as gluten-free are not really gluten-free?
Okay, oats tend to be grown in fields where there's also wheat, either in the same field or nearby, and it's also often processed on the same equipment, so that would make it gluten contaminated. Also, some people who have celiac disease, there's a protein that's in oats that's very similar to gluten, which is why it is so good for baking. So some people with celiac disease also react to that protein, and
Oh,
so
I
then
see.
they still even can't have the gluten-free oats. But
Oh,
many
okay.
people who are gluten intolerant can have the gluten-free oats.
Oh, okay.
But you want to be cautious.
Yeah.
This
13. Oh, this is
the
one of our
tiniest
favorites.
little grain. I'm sure you can't even see how tiny it is there.
It looks
Teff?
like
Is it teff?
It's small. They're
Teff.
smaller than grains of sand.
that
They're
was
that
a
tiny.
tough question, and you got it right.
Good fun.
Well, I
Tough
just remembered
question.
that from when you did the program at the veggie dinner, yeah.
Yeah, this is an intact grain. It looks like it's ground, but those are the whole seeds there.
It is the smallest grain in the world, and it's also, I think, the most protein dense, right?
I think so.
Oh.
And it's a really good source of iron. So our favorite way to eat that is to not cook it ourselves. But we love to go to Ethiopian restaurants and get the injera sourdough bread, which is made from teff. Traditionally, some restaurants now add wheat, so again, if you're gluten-free, that's something to ask at a restaurant. But,
Yeah.
but traditionally, it's made with just teff.
And this last one is considered a grain, but that's kind of a seed
A
to it.
pseudo-grain, yeah.
Pseudo-grain, yeah.
Is it wild rice?
Wild rice,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and that you
I've
could throw
had
into
wild
any of the other
rice
grains.
from time to time, and it is really delicious.
Yeah, delicious. It's expensive, so we like to mix it in with other things.
Yeah, it's very pretty. Pretty in a rice pilaf.
And when you shake it into the pan, make sure that you pick up all the stray ones, so in the morning you don't get shocked to find these little black pellets on your counter.
That
and
you might
"What
think
is this?"
that a rodent had
Yes.
visited your kitchen.
When I have, once I was cooking forbidden rice, which is not wild rice, but it's a black rice. And the next morning I came down to the counter and I'm like, oh my goodness, something's been here. And then I had to think back, like, oh no, I just dropped a few grains of rice.
Uh-oh. Okay.
All right, now do you want to talk about the ladder? Our
Yeah,
millet's
you can
almost
talk
done
about
there.
the ladder.
Okay.
You want to hold it up or
Wow,
anything?
so-
Can you see it?
Hold it this way. So this is not our concept. This is the hierarchy of whole grains that is designed by Brenda Davis, who's a nutritionist, registered dietitian, and she's done a lot of work, especially with populations with high rates of diabetes. And she says this is the hierarchy of whole grains, especially for improving blood sugar.
Okay.
So at the top of the ladder would be the intact grains, and
That would be the best.
that would be the best. That's where you want to eat most of your
Yeah.
grains is intact.
Like
So-
most of the ones we showed you were intact.
Right,
But bulgur
so-
was not.
So like the whole
But
millet,
everything else-
the whole buckwheat, the whole rice, brown rice, and that's where you're getting all the nutrition and the best. They're absorbed best by your body, and they don't spike your blood sugar. Broken would be below that. That would be like the bulgur, right? Rolled is below that, so rolled would be like our.
Rolled
I tend to
oats.
get the rolled oats, which are not the greatest, but still they're the third step, so that's not too bad.
They're better than the 1 minute oats.
Oh,
Yes, much better
Yeah.
than that. So rolled oats, there's the whole oat oats are thinly sliced and then like flattened out. So they're rolled is flattened out.
Oh, I thought that rolled oats were just rolled flat from a whole. Because you hear the term whole rolled oats.
Yeah, I,
think
don't
they're
think
still
so. They're
sliced somehow.
So if you were to
Are
look
they?
I don't know
at,
how they do it.
oh, I don't have one. I don't have the bag open, but there might be one in there.
Well, here, yes, here.
Oh, there. Oh, you got it. Yeah, so if you look, you can see that they're like sliced down the middle. It looks like an apple sliced. You can see like the, what do they call the middle part?
Like a cotyledon.
The cotyledon is in the middle, and you can see that it's just sliced there. And then they're rolled flat.
Now, with the broken ones, that would be like steel cut oats, right?
Yes, steel cut oats would be more like a broken.
Yeah.
Yes. And again, they're sliced, but they're not rolled as flat. Yeah. So they take longer to cook, but they're healthier.
And you can cook oats in the rice
rice
cooker. A lot of
cooker.
people do their morning oats in the rice cooker.
Yeah, when
Makes
my
them thick and
sister was
creamy.
visiting recently, we did oats in the rice cooker for her.
Yeah, we did a big oatmeal bar for breakfast.
Oh,
Yeah, we had
yummy.
nuts and brown sugar and raisins, and everyone put whatever they wanted, bananas, whatever they wanted in their oatmeal.
So then below rolled would be flaked. So that would be like
Well, they give quinoa flakes.
quinoa flakes, so more processed. And then shredded, like shredded wheat. And then ground, which would be like a meal, like so the oats I'm going to use in a minute for cooking cookies. So I took the rolled oats and I blended them in a blender, or like cornmeal would be ground, not like a flour that's had things removed. And then last would be puffed, which would be like our puffed
Sorghum, and you've
then we've also got puffed millet.
millet.
Yeah,
Yes.
millet.
So one of our favorite Christmas movies is The Muppet Family Christmas, and Big Bird brings everybody chocolate-covered bird seed. But I make this like a hot chocolate sauce that I put on puffed millet, so I call it my chocolate-covered bird seed. It's really good.
Yeah, she takes.
Not super
It's very
healthy,
easy.
but-
She takes a little maple syrup and carob, because she can't have caffeine, but you could use cocoa, and peanut butter, and she just melts it together. It makes like a syrup, and then she tosses the puffed millet into it, and it makes like a, what do they
Like
call
puppy
that?
chow, kind of. You ever
Yeah,
had puppy
the
chow?
puppy chow, where
The
they-
Christmas treat?
They
No.
take,
No.
they take like rice chunks, and they toss it with like a peanut butter melted chocolate. It tastes very much like that, only
Yeah, it's very
um,
decadent. But it's mostly millet, so it's
Now, can you
not as
get the
bad.
puffed millet in Chautauqua County?
No.
No.
No, I check every time I go to a store. I'm like, somebody's got to have puffed millet. You can get, if you can eat gluten, they have puffed kamut at Wegmans, and puffed rice is easy to find places.
Yeah, most
But-
everybody has puffed rice.
But puffed millet, I have to order online. I have to order a lot of my food online.
Okay.
All right. Do you want to move on to food?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're down to
Yeah, we have to
about
talk
22
faster.
and a half minutes. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
The rice cooker's
Done?
done. It's switched from cooked to keep warm.
Oh, there goes
Yeah.
the steam.
Let's see if we can tip that up so they can see.
Yeah, give it a shot.
It'll be hot, but there you go. There's our millet. And you see
was that what you cooked for us at the veggie dinner?
it's light and it's
Yes.
fluffy. Reminds you a lot of rice.
Or it tastes a lot like couscous, too. People are always asking me, is that couscous? Well, couscous is not a grain, but millet is, so millet counts.
There you go. There's the
Millet, yeah. We brought just a simple dressing to put on it later.
Oh, what is the dressing?
This is just I call it sweet ginger miso. And it's
Sweet ginger miso.
Yeah, so it's some miso and some sugar, not super healthy, and then some powdered ginger and some apple cider vinegar.
some people might not know what miso is.
Oh, okay. Miso sounds terrible. It's a fermented soybean paste, but it adds a lot of flavor to things, and it adds salt in a way that doesn't have the what do you say, the detrimental effects that salt usually has.
Yeah.
So if you're cutting back on salt and you're missing that salty taste in your food,
Get miso.
yeah, get
Yeah.
some miso. They sell it at Wegmans. I haven't seen it at Tops, but it's available around. It's a little expensive, but a little goes a long ways.
Yeah.
It's like a paste, and you have to you dissolve it in some water, and then you add it to whatever you're cooking. But it has because it's fermented, it has the benefits of a fermented food if you don't cook it. So if you want to put it in like a dressing, it's more beneficial, or if you want to put it in your dish at the very end, if you're cooking something. That way you still have that fermented, the benefits of the fermented food. It's an easy way to eat a fermented food. If you go to a Japanese restaurant, you can have the miso soup there, which is really
My
good.
favorite.
Yeah.
Okay, if
Oh,
You
some
want to talk
cookies?
about your cookies?
if you're going to do a demonstration, we probably should get on to that now.
Okay. Yeah, so we're not actually going to bake the cookies today, but so I took, these are my favorite cookies. So I took just some rolled oats, and you can use steel cut oats too, and I blended them in the blender until they made like a coarse flour. So there's still some larger flakes of oat in there, so we're still getting more of the benefits. And then I add 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Add that in. And a little bit of cinnamon, so this I think is about a teaspoon there. And then whatever else you want to add. I love to add some nutmeg to mine, so I brought my nutmeg. So just a little bit of nutmeg in there.
Is that a grater that's special for grating spices?
Yeah, it's just a nutmeg grater.
A nutmeg grater is what
Yeah.
it's called?
I think so,
Okay.
right? It's
Yeah.
got this little thing at the top for
You
holding
can
the nutmeg.
buy ground nutmeg, but it's fun to buy the nutmeg nuts themselves and grate them. It's
Yeah.
fresh.
Yeah, it's a little
this
excitement.
one makes eggnog taste like eggnog.
Yeah, and it
That's
makes
that spice.
donuts taste like donuts. So it makes these cookies taste a little donutty. And then that's it. I mix that up, and I add in some dried fruit. I brought some raisins, but in the sample ones I brought apricots. That's my favorite.
She brought organic raisins. One thing that you might want to know about the ones that are not called organic in the grocery store are grapes that have been heavily sprayed. So, and then the banana, does the banana
So this is the dry part of the cookie mix. And then in the blender, you blend 4 bananas. You just peel the bananas, throw them in the blender, and blend them until they're soupy, and mix it in. And then you just, you don't add any other liquid, no fat, no sugar, no salt. And you just scoop them, and I bake them at 350 for about 14 minutes, and then they make cookies.
Yeah,
So.
the fun kind of magical thing about these cookies
like one.
is that she puts the baking soda in, and baking soda you need like an acid to make it rise. But the bananas are naturally acidic. So when you pour that banana in, your bowl kind of fluffs up.
Fluffs,
You can
yes.
watch the cookie batter fluff up. And we usually bake these on parchment because I think they might stick on a regular pan.
Yeah.
But you change up every time whatever you want to put inside because it's basically the 3 ingredients: oats, bananas, and baking soda, and you add whatever you like. I like to make like a Black Forest one and use like cocoa or carob and dried cherries and walnuts. My favorite. You make a nice one with whole cranberries.
Yes,
You
I love
cook
it.
in the freezer.
I just take like a bag of cranberries and just rinse off half the bag and throw them in. And you can take them right out of the freezer and throw them in. And they make a delicious holiday cookie. And there's no guilt because you're just eating oatmeal and bananas. So there's no sugar, no salt, no fat.
Yeah, and they're really delicious too. It satisfies your sweet craving. I one time read somewhere that if you have a craving for chocolate, to drink a glass of organic grape juice instead, and that'll satisfy your craving for the chocolate if you're trying to avoid chocolate. And a lot of people are these days. I've heard that it'll cause acid reflux, I think it is, or something like that.
Oh, especially, well, if it has milk in it, might, I'm sure. Milk or the fat, and that might. Oats are so versatile because you can have your breakfast oats and you can use them in so many other things. We make crusts for cookies and cheesecakes. You can
Right,
just use oats and dates and some nuts. Mary makes a baked pan of oats every week. On Sunday, she puts in oats and
Oats and flaxseed, and then a whole bunch of spices, all the spices you should eat every day, like ginger. I try to add amla powder, which is a really high antioxidant, Indian gooseberries.
and then 2 cups of some kind of fruit. So if it's frozen.
Or vegetable.
Yeah, rhubarb, blueberries, raspberries, whatever you put away from the summer.
Carrots, zucchini.
And it bakes a pan. She divides it in 8 servings, and she knows every day at breakfast she gets her grain, she gets all the flax she needs, and the amla that you like too. And then it's ready to go in the morning. You don't have to say, what am I going to have for breakfast? You just warm up 1 slice. These are meatballs.
Vegan meatballs.
Meatballs. And those are pretty much basically oats too. That's got a little tofu and some pecans, but the rest is oats. Anything you use like breadcrumbs for, quick pulse some oats in the blender and it makes a breadcrumb. So that's what I use there. Did you try those? They're kind of Italian-y flavored. Want one of those, Mary?
Oh, I do. I've been smelling them all morning. I can smell the fennel seeds.
And just bake them in the oven. Yeah. Aren't they good? And that's oats.
This is
You're
really
eating-
good.
You're eating whole grains there. Yeah. So we make nut loaves that have oats in too. Yeah. So they better not find anything wrong with oats because we'll be in trouble. We like oats
Yeah,
now.
really. Now, you brought a couple of books with you. One of them we've talked about before, the How Not
Which
to
that
Die
one?
one. Do you want me to grab it for you?
We can pull these over. Yeah, so this is our favorite book. This is our nutrition Bible. So our favorite doctor, Dr. Michael Greger, and what he did was he took decades of nutritional research and he just organized it so that people could access it. So the first half of the book is 15 chapters about the leading causes of death in America and what the nutrition science shows can be done to prevent or help treat or even reverse all those things. And then the back half of the book is what to eat every day for optimal health. So chapters about the benefits of grains, beans, spices. And then the very back of the book, there are thousands and hundreds at least, maybe thousands so all of these are all the scientific studies that he used. So it's all evidence-based. I like that. I'm a science person. So it's all the evidence for why you should eat this and not that. And it's not just the latest fad diet that's on Facebook or in the tabloids. It's all based on many decades of what we know about nutrition.
Yeah, I have a copy of the book too, and I've read it all the way through. And at near the beginning of the book, I think it is. There's a list in order of your likelihood of dying, and number 3 on the list. The first 2, I think, are heart disease and cancer. I'm not sure which order. They're probably close, but the third thing on the list is actually the medical profession is the third leading cause of death.
Well, there's so many small conditions people have, if instead of trying to treat them with nutrition, they take a pill. And then because of that pill, they have side effects, and they take another pill. And we've watched some friends over the years just spiral downward because they started with something small, but all the pills added on, side effect after side effect. They get in trouble that way. And it's
That's
hard
why we
to
don't
watch.
take prescriptions. If we need take something, we take it. We follow our doctor's advice, and we're very lucky that our doctor is becoming more and more knowledgeable about nutrition, and I think has changed his way of thought by watching us change. I think he's kind of surprised him from being in terrible, terrible health, close to death at one point. I was. And,
oh my gosh.
Have come back a long ways, and what's your doctor going to say when he sees you go from death's door to being one of their healthiest patients? There's, no denying it, I guess.
Yeah. So if it's something small, something that can be treated with nutrition, it's better to do that first, and then try medication.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, mistakes are made. Some people, sometimes in a hospital, somebody's given the wrong medication, and they die as a result of that.
Yeah.
So,
You have to know what questions to ask, and you have to be aware. And you
know what
wanna
your
have a
pills
good-
look like, and
You want to be able to have a doctor that you can talk to and ask questions of, and then that they come to trust you too.
yeah.
This is Dr. Greger's second book, which was I got
Well,
a
no,
gift
he's written more
with a
books, but this
sign
is the
by
sequel
him.
to the
How Not to Die.
Yeah.
It's a
This-
recipe book.
Yeah, a recipe book. So if you're a little overwhelmed by all the things you should or shouldn't be eating, he's got some great recipes in here.
Yeah, that's the thing to do when you get ready to switch to a plant-based diet is get some recipe books with vegan recipes, A lot of people think it would be hard to switch, but as long as you, the way I always figured is if you can know how to use a cookbook, you know how to, you can figure it out. Some people might need, somebody, a coach or something to help them through it. And we try to be that at the Vegetarian Society.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
when
can
we
follow
first
us on our Facebook page, Chautauqua Vegetarian Society.
Yeah.
Know when our meetings are.
Yeah, there's a lot of support now that there didn't used to be. Like when we started, we didn't really have any vegan friends in real life. I think you and Ann at the Vegetarian Society were the first vegans we knew locally.
Right.
So, but we started by cookbooks. We got a few cookbooks, we tried a few recipes, and we thought, this is not so bad, we can do this. And then people think vegan cooking is hard. And it's so much easier to make a cookie with bananas than having to crack eggs and deal with the eggshells.
Well, as far as a eating diet goes, people have worse messes to clean up afterwards.
Yes,
You know, those
scrubbing the
stuck-on
pans.
greasy
Yeah.
pans.
You have to worry about salmonella and things like that.
Yeah.
We don't have any of those worries. It's nice. Or when people have to run out and say, oh, you know, we're gonna have a storm, I have to run out and buy milk and bread. I'm like, oh, I'll just make some milk with stuff in my cupboard. It's so easy. I don't have to run out. I want to make cookies, but I don't have to run out and get eggs. I just get out the flaxseed. Much easier.
Yeah, flax is really an anti-cancer food. It has anti-cancer benefits, and it's high in, I think it's the omega-3 fatty acids that are good for you, and a certain type of, is it linoleic acid?
Yes, linoleic acid.
You know, that your body needs. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff in flaxseed. Always eat them ground. You know that.
Oh yeah,
'cause
oh yeah.
They're nice. They have a nice hard protective coating to keep them safe in nature, but then you can't get the
Yeah, then
nutrients.
if you eat them whole, somehow your teeth are not a good enough way to grind them up. It's
Right.
not possible to chew them thoroughly, so they have to be ground up.
I always laugh at the new snack foods that are out. They try to make them look healthier, and they say with flax seeds. But if the flax seeds are whole, you're really not benefiting from them.
No, you
Oh,
do.
is that what they do? They put them
Yeah,
in?
they just
Yeah.
sprinkle flax seeds on top to make things look healthier, but you get zero benefit from those whole flax seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's better than taking flaxseed oil. I think it got really
Yes.
popular there for a while to take flaxseed oil, but eating the flaxseed, just eating the ground up flaxseed is supposed to be a lot better.
Right. It's one of the things we see a lot with supplements. People say, you know, oh, I just take a curcumin supplement instead of eating the spiced turmeric. But anytime you're eating the whole food, like you're eating the ground flax seeds instead of the oil, you're taking the whole turmeric spice, you're getting all those benefits more than just the one. Like in the flaxseed oil, you get that healthy fat, but you don't get the healthy fiber that's in the flaxseed, the
Exactly.
lignans. Yeah.
So what's your favorite recipe from the How Not to Die recipe book, would you say?
Oh, from this book. There's the really versatile ones. Like there's a spice blend, like his own homemade version of Mrs. Dash to use instead of salt.
Is that
So
right?
that's really nice and versatile. In there they have a method for roasting heads of garlic without oil, which
Oh.
is amazing. So I'll roast a whole head and just snack on it. We're popping them into salads this week. There's also some roasted chickpeas in there, that's probably my very favorite recipe in the book, is the roasted chickpeas.
I think he does it as kind of a preventative thing. Carl will take whole cloves of garlic raw and put them in his mouth and chew on.
Wow.
I don't have that strength.
And I think that he does it as a way to prevent, coming down with stuff, colds and things.
The allium family, garlic and onions, are the #1 food to fight any kind of cancer. I mean, that comes from scientific research. So you should have some every day. So good for Carl.
Yeah, I have done that myself with the raw garlic. Sometimes when having a sore throat or something, it kind of helps clear up, chewing on it and then swallowing some saliva that's infused with it, kind of helps to clear out the congestion and like that. But
And it makes your eyes water, I'm sure.
it does kind of burn your tongue a little bit, though. What about you, Joanne, as far as what's something that you enjoy from the How Not to Die recipe
I don't know.
book?
I don't use cookbooks so much. I wonder,
I don't
like,
think she's ever
I'm like-
actually opened this cookbook.
No, I have. I guess get more inspired by it. I am very bad at using recipes, which is terrible. It's like if someone wanted to know how to make those meatballs, I could tell them what I put in it, but I don't measure anything.
Oh.
And I started with a recipe maybe 2 years ago, and it changes and it changes. So I use cookbooks more for inspiration.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not good at following closely.
Well, you know, there are some favorite recipes I have from recipe books that were just vegetarian recipe books that I've changed to vegan, where I've just used the vegetarian recipes and changed some of the ingredients to make them vegan. So, like the cornbread recipe that I make, it was a recipe that I've been using for many, many years, but it usually called for either milk or buttermilk and eggs, of course. But that particular cornbread recipe works really well if you use water instead of the milk. You could use some of the vegan milk alternatives, of course, but it turns out really nice. I usually just use water and then throw in some arrowroot powder to dissolve into the water, and that works out perfectly.
Arrowroot's a good binder. Yeah.
Perfectly
arrowroot,
fine.
tapioca.
You know, you can't tell the difference whether I've done it with eggs or not. You know, it turns out the same way. It's a really good, even though it wasn't originally a vegan cornbread recipe, it works out absolutely totally
Yeah.
fine.
You have to be creative. The more
Yeah.
creative you can be, I think the better. You try new things and try foods that you're used to eating and trying them in other ways, trying new foods.
Yeah, sometimes you get into ruts. Like I was making like the same soup every 2 weeks. I made the same soup recipe. So that's why my New Year's resolution last year was to make a different soup every week, and then I made the blog with them.
Oh yeah, Mary has a blog for vegan soups.
Yes.
So-
This year, instead of, I'm not going to do soups anymore, but I'm keeping with the trying something new every week, and so I'm going to keep the blog up, but not soups. It's going to be sweets and treats this year.
Ooh, well,
And
good.
but like all the soups, they're going to be whole food, plant-based, and no salt, oil, or sugar.
Sounds good.
I'm looking forward to sampling.
Well, you know, I was going to say, I believe that this episode will start airing the Saturday before Christmas. So I wanted to wish the viewing audience a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So, so maybe if any of you are thinking about making holiday resolutions, you could think of adding healthier foods and subtracting not healthy foods from your diet for 2019. So, so anyway, I want to thank the two of you coming on. You always have such a fun presentation and everything, and
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes,
Oh,
thank you. We
you're-
had fun, and now we get to eat the good food.
yes, yes, we do, and so does the crew get to sample it. So I will see the rest of you in the viewing audience in a couple of weeks.